Their feet were wrong in our snow. Their feet were wrong in our snow. We knew every track that crossed our valley. Heavy step of bison, soft stitch of hare, long careful drag of wolf. Our own prints were deep round holes, each toe biting down, heel pressing the earth flat. The ground remembered us. These new marks did not. They cut the crust instead of sinking, long, narrow, with the weight held in a thin line from heel to toe, like a bird that had grown too heavy but refused to change its walk. The toes were close together, pinched as if afraid of touching the cold. Around them, the snow was barely bruised. We found them at first light on a slope where only our children played and only our hunters passed. No one had gone there in the night, yet the snow was written with a story that did not belong to us. The air above the trail smelled wrong too. Not of our smoke, heavy and bitter from fat, rich wood. Not of our sweat, thick with old hides and ash. There was a sharpness in it, like stone newly broken. A thin smell of burned sticks, fast and hot, not the slow, patient coals we slept beside. I scraped fingers through the black dust where they had made fire. The ash was fine as ground bone, light enough to lift with my breath. They had left no big chunks of half-burned wood, no heavy logs, only slender pieces all gone to powder, as if they were in a hurry even to be warm. Among the cold ashes lay things I did not know. Curved bits of scraped wood, shavings as thin as skin, chips of stone cut so narrow my thick fingers could barely pick them up. Tools, but not for hands like ours. They smelled of new work, of many tries, of minds that did not tire of changing small things. My chest swelled with two breaths at once. One was curiosity, sharp as that strange smoke. I wanted to see the hands that made these marks, to watch how they asked fire to eat so fast, how they carved stone so thin without breaking it. I wanted to stand close enough to smell their hair and know what kind of nights they slept. The other breath was anger, hot and heavy. This slope was where our children rolled in new snow, where our hunters tested the pull of their shoulders, where our dead were carried past on their last path to stone and earth. These long, light feet had stepped on all of that as if it were only ground. We followed their trail in a small knot of bodies, our weight punching deep holes beside their shallow cuts. We moved low, between scrub and rock, the way we did when we circled a sick old bison to see if it would fall without a spear. No one spoke. Even the children left behind at the cave mouth felt the silence and did not cry. We saw them at the edge of our world, where the white ground broke into dark trees. They did not see us. They were smaller than us, narrow in the shoulders, necks like young trees instead of stone. Their faces turned quickly, always searching, as if the world might change if they looked away. Their hands moved even when they stood still. I remember the sound of their voices most, fast, tangled, like water over broken rock. They threw sounds to each other the way our children threw snow, and somehow the snow of their words built shelters I could not see. One of them lifted a long, thin piece of wood, pointed it toward the sky, then the trees, then the hill where we hid. He did not see us. But in that moment, with that line drawn through air, I felt something cold pass through my chest that was not winter. We called them the thin ones. We should have called them something worse. The first of them stepped out where the trees ended. The first of them stepped out where the trees ended. We waited in the shadow of the last trunks, breath held, hearts beating against bark and fur, watching the edge where our world stopped being forest and became white glare. That was our line. We crossed it only together, only loud, only certain of our path. He crossed it alone. He came from the open, not from the shelter of stone or branch. Snow lay smooth around his legs, but he moved as if the cold did not bite, as if the wind only spoke to him. His walk was wrong, too straight in the back, too loose in the knees. His head held high like a bird listening to a far-off sound. Our steps bent to the ground, listening with the whole body. His feet kissed it and left. His coverings were strange too. Our furs hang heavy, wrapped close, good for sleep and storm. His were cut short across the arms and legs, tight around the waist, layered and bound so they did not flap when he turned. There were lines and edges in his clothes that did not come from teeth or flint, but from a kind of patience that shaved and shaped until the hide forgot it had once been an animal. Their faces were too much like ours. Their faces were too much like ours. Not like the big animals whose eyes slide past you and forget. Not like wolves whose stare is all hunger and distance. These eyes caught and held, thinking back at me. His nose was narrower, his brow smoother, his chin sharper, but the map was the same. Two eyes set above a mouth that could soften or harden. Skin that folded when he frowned, that creased at the corner when one side of his mouth lifted. I had seen those lines only in our own faces, when firelight made us strangers to each other for a moment. We stood so close I could hear the soft click of his teeth when he swallowed. Our breaths met between us and made a small cloud. His smell was almost ours, smoke, sweat, old fat, only thinner, like water with too much snow melted into it. His hair lay flatter, his beard grew less wild, but when the wind moved it, it moved like mine. We had come ready for teeth and claws, for the rush and crush of bodies. Instead, we found hands like ours, fingers spreading and closing, showing empty palms. One of my brothers shifted behind me, and in the corner of my eye I saw the strangers do the same, answering movement with movement, like two flocks of birds pinned to the earth. He made sounds then, not the throat-deep calls we used for far hills, not the small clicks and hums of our sleeping talk. His sounds hopped and broke and slid, many shapes inside one breath. At first they were only noise, but there was a weight to them, a pattern that tugged at my thoughts the way a half-known track tugs at the feet. I answered with my own calls, short and low, and saw his eyes narrow, trying to step into them. No one moved first. That was the hardest work. We all carried the picture inside us, my hand at his throat, his teeth at my mouth, snow black with blood that steamed and then froze. I felt the weight of a stone in my empty hand, though I held nothing. I saw him flinch from a blow I did not give. Between us, in the air, the fight we did not have tore itself to shreds and fell. It was one of the women behind me who broke the stillness. A soft sound, half warning, half question, pushed from her chest. The man before me turned his head toward it, quick as a stoat, his eyes catching the movement. When he looked back at me, there was something new in them. Not fear, not hunger, a sharpness, a measuring. He reached slowly into his furs and every muscle in my shoulders turned to stone. But his hand came out with nothing bleeding, nothing hard, only a small strip of dried flesh, dark and shiny with old fat. He held it out, arm shaking just a little, palm open, like a mother offering food to a child that has bitten before. I answered without meaning to. My fingers found a broken piece of root in the fold of my cloak and brought it up. It was bitter, stringy, not much. But when I held it out, his mouth opened in a shape I did not know then, and know now. A bare, careful piece. We did not touch. The meat and the root lay on the snow between us. We both stepped back. The wind moved around our gifts and carried our smells to each other, and in that thin air I felt the world tilt. In their eyes I saw something sharp and fast, like a blade we did not know how to hold. We did not just fight them. Some of us loved them. We did not just fight them. Some of us loved them. I did. It began where paths crossed by accident so many times that we stopped calling it accident. A bend in the river where the ice broke first. A hollow between two rocks that caught the wind so it did not bite so hard. We learned the same places without speaking. At first, we watched one another from opposite banks, hands open, bodies turned half away, ready to vanish into trees or stone. Then we stopped vanishing. Her face was wrong and right at once. The bones were narrow where mine were thick, the brow smooth where mine was heavy, the chin pointed where mine was square. But when she laughed, the skin folded around her eyes the way ours did around the fire. Her teeth showed the same way when she tore meat with hunger and delight. Her smell was strange, smoke from different trees, fat from animals that did not run under our spears, but under it was the same salt and earth as any breathing body. We began with things that could be dropped and left behind. A strip of dried meat laid on a flat rock, a length of hide scraped clean and soft, a shard of red stone that caught light like blood but did not break in the cold. We did not touch when we traded. We placed, stepped back, watched the other step forward. Our hands learned the size of one another before our eyes did. Then came the night the river rose, and the ice cracked loud as bone. My people pulled back to high ground. Hers did not leave the low camp fast enough. We heard the water take something heavy, heard shouting in a tongue we did not know and yet understood. I ran before my brothers could say my name, down the slope, over the breaking crust, feet numb and burning. In the dark rush, a small body tumbled, hands clawing at nothing. I did not think of lines or blood or who owned which side of the river. I thought of weight. I knew the weight of children in the flood. I threw myself in. When I dragged the child to shore, her child, the others from her group stood above us, faces sharp with fear and hatred. Behind me, my own people shouted my name like a warning, like a curse. For a breath, I knelt between two worlds, my hands on a coughing chest that belonged to neither. She stepped forward first. She dropped to her knees opposite me, her hair hanging wet and dark, her fingers pressing against the same ribs my hands had just struck. Our eyes met over the small body between us. Her look said what no word in either tongue could hold. You crossed for mine. I am crossing now, too. After that, there were meetings that were not accidents. We learned the sounds of each other's names, even when our mouths did not shape them well. We sat close to the same fire when the wind was too cruel to pretend we were separate flames. At first, others came with us, watching, ready to drag us back. Then they grew tired or angry or afraid. We were told not to go. We went anyway. There is a warmth that is not from embers, skin against skin under the same hide, breath mingling until you cannot say whose chest rises first. Her fingers traced the ridges of my face as if reading a map of a land she had never walked, learning each line as if it might vanish by morning. I counted the blue lines beneath her thin skin, the places where her bones showed sharp against my palm, and wondered how something that looked so breakable could feel so strong. When our child came, both fires claimed the light and denied the smoke. The child's head fit under my chin like it had been carved for that hollow. Dark hair, but finer than ours. Eyes that opened wide and fast, staring at everything as if every shape might be a promise or a threat. The elders of my group said the child's bones were wrong, too light, the skull too round. The elders of her group said the child's blood was thick with winter, too slow, too heavy. To me, the child was just weight and warmth and sound. A small, angry cry in the night that pulled milk from breasts and patience from bones. A hand that curled around my thumb with a grip stronger than any argument. But the world outside our shelter did not see that. My brothers said, "You have given them our strength. They will carry it when we are gone." Her kin said, "You have let their cold into our tents. It will freeze us from the inside." Our love was counted not as joining, but as theft. There were nights when I lay awake listening to the child's breathing and felt the war inside my chest more than the cold in my feet. Part of me wanted to gather the child, gather her and run so far that no voice from either camp could reach us. Another part knew there was nowhere so far that blood did not remember the path. The first time the child walked into the circle of my people, there was a silence heavier than any snowfall. The child moved with a strange grace, back straight like hers, feet planting wide like mine. Laughter came fast from that small mouth, but stopped just as fast when it met blank faces. Behind me, someone spat into the snow. The first time the child walked into the circle of her people, I watched from the trees. Their eyes slid over the small body as if looking at a shadow cast by another fire. One woman knelt and touched the child's hair, then pulled her hand back as if burned. My love did not make a bridge. It made a place in the middle where feet sank deep. We thought sharing blood would save us. We were wrong. But it also meant we never truly disappeared. We thought sharing blood would save us. We were wrong. But it also meant we never truly disappeared. We mixed our blood with theirs, thinking it might save us. It did not save my people, but it carried me into you. If you want to know what the very last of us has to say to the child of both our kinds, do not leave the fire yet. Walk with me into the final telling.